The invoice was taped to the fridge, right next to my daughter's drawing of our family. White paper, black ink, numbers that made my stomach drop. Babysitting services, $200. Payment due immediately. I stared at it, coffee mug frozen halfway to my lips. The handwriting was familiar, looped and careful. My sister's. I pulled it off slowly, the tape making a soft, ripping sound. Behind me, the kitchen clock ticked. Outside, a car door slammed. My hand started shaking before my brain caught up. Emma, my 8-year-old, appeared in the doorway, backpack dragging behind her. "Mom, are you okay?" I forced a smile. "Did Aunt Sienna watch you guys yesterday?" Emma nodded. "For a little bit. She was on her phone mostly." My chest tightened. "A little bit." I looked at the invoice again. $200 for 40 minutes while I ran to the pharmacy. 40 minutes in my own house where my sister had been living rent-free for 3 months. Sienna walked in like she owned the place. Hair tied up, wearing my robe, sipping from my favorite mug. She saw me holding the invoice and didn't even blink. "You got it," she said flatly. Not a question, not an apology, just a statement. I held up the paper. "You're charging me $200. She set the mug down on the counter, the ceramic clicking against granite. "My time isn't free, Mia." Her voice was ice, cold and smooth and final. I felt heat crawling up my neck. "You live here, rent-free. You eat my food, use my water, sleep in my guest room. And now you're billing me for watching my kids for less than an hour." She crossed her arms. "That's exactly why I'm charging you. You think everything should be free just because we're family." The silence stretched between us like a wire pulled tight. Then she leaned closer, her expression unreadable. "Besides, you don't know everything I'm dealing with right now." Something in her tone made me pause. Not guilt, something darker, something planned. I tried to keep my voice steady. "What are you dealing with, Sienna?" She looked away, toward the window where morning light cut across the floor. "Nothing you'd understand." Her jaw tightened. "Just pay me, or I'll leave." The threat hung in the air. I should have felt relieved at the thought of her leaving. Instead, I felt dread. "And if I don't pay?" She smiled then, small and sharp. "Then I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of sister you really are." Before I could respond, she pulled out her phone and started typing. Her thumbs moved fast, deliberate. I caught a glimpse of the screen. A text message. "It's starting," she wrote. Then she hit send. My stomach dropped again. "What's starting?" I asked. She slipped the phone into her pocket and walked past me, shoulder brushing mine. "You'll see." That night, after the kids were asleep, I found it. Sienna's notebook, left open on the guest room desk. I shouldn't have looked, but the heading caught my eye. "Monetizing this household." My breath caught. I stepped closer. The pages were filled with lists, calculations, categories written in neat columns. Laundry fees, emotional labor charges, noise penalties, babysitting tiers. Each one had a dollar amount next to it. $20 for using the washing machine. $50 for dealing with children's chaos. $15 per hour for general stress caused by living here. At the bottom of the page, one line stood out, underlined 3 times. "Goal, make her snap first." I felt cold all over. This wasn't about money. This was a strategy. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of every page, hands trembling. When I heard footsteps in the hallway, I closed the notebook exactly how I'd found it and slipped out. The next morning, I woke to the sound of Sienna's voice drifting through the walls. Low and secretive. I crept to the hallway and listened. "She's almost there," Sienna whispered into her phone. A pause. Then, once she explodes, I get the sympathy. People will see her as the villain, not me. My heart hammered. I pressed my back against the wall. "Trust me," she continued. "I've been documenting everything. Every little thing she says. Every time she raises her voice. I'll paint the picture exactly how I need it. Another pause. Whoever was on the other end said something that made her laugh. Quiet and cruel. She has no idea. I stood there frozen until she hung up. Then I heard movement and rushed back to my room. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. A notification. Sienna had posted on social media. Sometimes the people who take you in are the ones who use you the most. Feeling trapped in a toxic home. Pray for me. By noon, my phone was flooded. Messages from cousins, old friends, people I hadn't spoken to in years. Are you really making Sienna your maid? Why would you treat family like that? She's been through so much, and this is how you repay her. I stared at the screen, numb. Each message felt like a slap. One comment on her post read, "My sister went through the same thing. Some people are just selfish." Another said, "You deserve better, Sienna. Get out of there." I wanted to respond, to defend myself, to explain. But what would I even say? That she charged me $200 for babysitting? That she's planning to manipulate me into exploding? It sounded paranoid. Insane. I typed a reply 3 times and deleted it each time. Then I noticed something. A notification I'd almost missed. Sienna had tagged me in the post. She wanted me to see it. Wanted me to feel trapped. My hands clenched around the phone until my knuckles went white. That evening, I finally confronted her. She was in the living room, scrolling through comments on her post, smiling faintly. "We need to talk," I said. She didn't look up. "About what?" "About the lies you're spreading online." Now she looked at me. Her expression was calm. Too calm. I didn't lie about anything. I stepped closer. "You made it sound like I'm abusing you, like you're trapped here." She shrugged. I said, "I feel trapped. That's my truth." I wanted to scream. Instead, I kept my voice level. "Take it down, Sienna." She tilted her head, studying me. "Or what?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. She stood, moving toward me slowly. "You think you can control me? I have evidence, Mia. Recordings. Proof of every time you've snapped at me." My blood went cold. "What recordings?" She pulled out her phone and played something. My voice, sharp and frustrated, saying, "I can't deal with this right now." It sounded harsh, aggressive, but she'd cut out the part where she'd been screaming at my kids. 3 days later, my boss called me into her office. My stomach twisted the moment I saw her expression. Serious, uncomfortable. "Mia, we need to discuss something," she said, closing the door behind me. I sat down, heart pounding. HR received a complaint. An anonymous one. She slid a printed email across the desk. I read it twice. Words like emotional instability at home and unsafe environment for children jumped out. My hand shook. "This isn't true," I said. My boss nodded slowly. "I'm not saying it is, but HR has to follow protocol. They'll want to meet with you." I felt the walls closing in. Only one person could have sent this. When I got home, Sienna was in the kitchen, humming softly. I stood in the doorway, staring at her. She glanced up and smiled. "Rough day." I didn't respond. She set down her fork. "I warned you not to push me, Mia." I felt defeated. Every move I made, she was 3 steps ahead. Every time I tried to stand up for myself, she twisted it. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. My mind raced. How did it get this bad? How did I let her take control? The next morning, I noticed something missing. My jewelry box, the one my grandmother left me, was gone from my dresser. Panic shot through me. I tore through drawers, searched under the bed, checked every corner of my room. Nothing. I marched to Sienna's room and knocked. No answer. I opened the door, and there it was, my jewelry box, sitting on her desk. Open. Next to it, a small tag. Appraised value, $3,200. I stood frozen. She was planning to sell my grandmother's jewelry. The necklace, the earrings, The ring my grandfather gave her in 1952. Everything that meant something. Everything I had left of her. I reached for the box, hands trembling. Just as my fingers touched it, the door opened behind me. Sienna stood there, arms crossed, blocking the exit. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said quietly. My throat tightened. "You were going to sell my grandmother's jewelry." She stepped inside, closing the door. "I need money, Mia. You're not the only one with problems." "That's not yours." My voice cracked. She moved closer. "Actually, it is. You gave it to me. Last Christmas. Remember?" I stared at her. "I never! I have proof," she interrupted, pulling out her phone. She played another recording. My voice again, muffled but clear enough. "You can have whatever you want. I don't care anymore." But that wasn't about the jewelry. That was from an argument months ago when she asked to borrow my car. She'd edited it, twisted it, made it sound like I'd given her permission to take whatever she wanted. I backed away from her, heart racing. "That's not what I meant. You know that." She smiled. "Doesn't matter what you meant. Matters what it sounds like." The room felt smaller, hotter. I needed air. "You can't do this," I whispered. "I already did." She picked up the jewelry box and held it like a trophy. "Face it, Mia. You're not smart enough to stop me." Something in me snapped. Not the explosion she wanted. Something colder, quieter. I remembered something. 3 weeks ago, I'd installed a baby monitor in the hallway. I'd wanted to check if the kids were sneaking downstairs at night, but it recorded everything, including the guest room doorway. I forced myself to stay calm. "You're right," I said softly. "I can't stop you." Sienna blinked, surprised. I turned and walked out, leaving her standing there, confused. For the first time, I had the upper hand, and she didn't even know it. That night, I waited until Sienna was asleep. Then I crept to the hallway closet where I'd hidden the baby monitor's storage drive. My hands shook as I plugged it into my laptop. The footage loaded slowly. I scrolled through hours of recordings, searching. Then I found it. 3 days ago, 2:47 a.m. Sienna, creeping into my room. She moved carefully, quietly, rifling through my dresser drawers. She found the jewelry box and held it up to the moonlight, inspecting each piece. Then she whispered to herself, practicing. "She gave these to me. She said I could have them. She said, 'Take whatever you want.'" She repeated it 3 times, like an actress rehearsing lines. My stomach turned. I kept watching. She took the jewelry back to her room, then returned to the hallway and stared directly at where the baby monitor was hidden. But she didn't see it. Too small. Too high. I copied everything to a secure drive and hid it in my car. Evidence. Real, unedited evidence. 2 nights later, I couldn't sleep. I heard Sienna's voice again, low and urgent, coming from the guest room. I pressed my ear to the door. "She has no idea what I'm about to file tomorrow," Sienna said. My pulse spiked. "File? File what?" I strained to hear more. "Trust me. Once the paperwork goes through, she won't have a choice. I'll have legal standing." The person on the other end said something I couldn't make out. Sienna laughed. "Tenant abuse. Hostile environment. Emotional manipulation. I've been building the case for weeks." My knees felt weak. I stumbled back to my room and grabbed my phone. I called my friend Iona. She was a lawyer. A good one. She answered on the 3rd ring, voice groggy. "Mia? It's 1 a.m. "I need help," I whispered. "It's my sister. She's planning something legal. Against me." Iona was quiet for a moment. Then her voice sharpened. "Tell me everything." Iona listened without interrupting. When I finished, she let out a long breath. "Okay. First, don't panic. What she's trying to do is build a tenant abuse case. But here's the thing. If she's living there rent-free, she's not technically a tenant. She's a guest." Relief flooded through me. "So she can't sue me?" "She can try," Iona said carefully. but it won't hold up. Not if you have evidence she's been manipulating the situation. I told her about the footage, the recordings, the notebook. Iona's tone shifted. Professional. Focused. That's good. Really good. But we need more. I need you to document everything from now on. Every interaction. Every conversation. Keep it calm. Don't give her ammunition. What do I do if she files? We fight it, and we win. She paused. But Mia, you need to be ready. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. I swallowed hard. I'm ready. The next day, I started recording. I kept my phone in my pocket, camera facing out, audio on. That afternoon, I found Sienna in the kitchen and asked calmly, "Can we talk about the $200 invoice?" She looked up, immediately defensive. "What about it?" "I just want to understand why you charged me." She crossed her arms. "Because I deserve to be compensated. For watching my kids in my house where you live for free." Her face flushed. "I'm not living here for free. I'm paying with my time, my energy, my mental health." I stayed calm. "So, you think babysitting for 40 minutes is worth $200? "Yes." Her voice rose. "And honestly, I should be charging you for everything. For months of lost social reputation. For being stuck here. For dealing with your chaos." There it was. On camera. Her admitting she was trying to extract money as compensation for things that didn't exist. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. A notification. Her face went pale. She grabbed the phone and stared at the screen, eyes wide. Sienna's hands trembled as she read whatever was on her screen. No. No, no, no. She tried to type something, but her card declined notification popped up again. I caught a glimpse. Payment method declined. Balance due. $8,437. My breath caught. That's why she moved in. She was drowning in debt. She looked up at me, panic flashing across her face. Then her expression hardened. "This is your fault," she hissed. "What?" "If you'd just paid me what I asked, I wouldn't be in this mess." Before I could respond, her phone buzzed again. An email notification. She tried to close it, but I saw the sender's name. Somebody named M. Carter. The preview read, "You promised me half. When am I getting my cut?" My mind raced. Half of what? I watched Sienna's face twist between fear and anger. She shoved the phone in her pocket and stormed past me. I went straight to my laptop and searched the name. M. Carter. Marcus Carter. My ex-boyfriend. The one who scammed me out of $2,000 4 years ago. My heart hammered as the pieces fell together. Sienna and Marcus. Working together. I scrolled through old emails, desperate for any clue. Then I found it. A Facebook message from 6 months ago. Marcus had reached out to Sienna after seeing a post about her moving back to town. I'd thought nothing of it at the time, but now everything made sense. They'd been planning this, using my kindness, my guilt, my desire to help family. I needed proof. I created a fake profile and messaged Marcus's current girlfriend, a woman named Holly. I'd seen her tagged in his recent photos. "Hi, I know this is random, but I think Marcus might be scamming someone close to me. Has he ever mentioned a woman named Sienna?" I hit send and waited. 3 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Oh my God. Yes. He's been obsessed with some plan involving his ex's sister. He said Sienna promised him money if he helped her get the ex fired from her job. I have screenshots. Do you want them?" Holly sent everything. Messages between Marcus and Sienna going back 5 months. "If you help me get her fired, I'll give you half of whatever I can squeeze out of her. She's too nice. Too guilty. She'll crack. I'll get her house eventually. Once she loses her job, she'll have to sell. We split the profit." My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my phone. They wanted my house. My home. Where my kids slept. Where my grandmother's pictures hung on the walls. Sienna wasn't just trying to manipulate me. She was trying to destroy me. I saved every screenshot, backed them up, sent copies to Iona. Then I sat in the silence of my bedroom, letting the rage settle into something sharper, colder. I wasn't going to explode. I wasn't going to give her what she wanted. I was going to end this. Carefully, methodically, the way she'd tried to dismantle me. The next morning, I sent Sienna a text. "Can we sit down and talk? I want to fix things." She responded immediately. Finally, "Yes, tonight, 7 o'clock." I could almost hear the smugness in her message. She thought she'd won. I called Iona and another friend, Trevor, who worked in social services. I explained what I needed. Witnesses. People who could verify what was said. People she couldn't manipulate. They both agreed. That evening, I set up my laptop in the living room, camera recording. At 7, Sienna walked in, confident. Then she saw Iona and Trevor sitting on the couch. Her smile faltered. "What's this?" "Just a conversation," I said calmly. "I wanted witnesses, so nothing gets twisted." Her jaw tightened. "Fine." She sat down, crossing her arms. "Let's talk." I folded my hands in my lap. "Why don't you start? Tell me what you think I've done wrong." Sienna leaned forward, voice dripping with emotion. "You've abused me, Mia. Emotionally. Financially. You've made me feel trapped here. Like I owe you something just because you gave me a place to stay." Iona jotted notes. Trevor watched silently. I stayed calm. "Can you give examples?" "You yell at me. You treat me like a servant. You expect me to watch your kids for free just because we're family. Did I ever ask you to watch my kids for free?" She hesitated. "You implied it." "Did I?" I reached for a folder on the coffee table and pulled out printed screenshots, messages, photos, the notebook pages, the baby monitor footage stills. I slid them across the table. Sienna's face went white. "What is this?" "Evidence," I said quietly, "of you planning to manipulate me, to charge me for things, to steal my jewelry, to ruin my career, to take my house." Trevor leaned forward, studying the pages. Iona's expression hardened. Sienna's hands shook as she grabbed the papers. This is taken out of context." "Is it?" I pulled out my phone and played the baby monitor footage. Her voice, clear as day, rehearsing her lines about the jewelry. Then the recording from yesterday. Her admitting she wanted compensation for lost social reputation. Her face crumbled. "You recorded me?" "You recorded me," I said evenly. "You edited my words. You tried to make me look unstable. You filed a complaint with my job. You tried to ruin me." Trevor spoke up, his voice calm but firm. "This is a serious situation. If even half of what's here is true, you've committed fraud, defamation, and theft." Sienna's eyes darted between us. I didn't mean," then she snapped. "You don't understand. I needed the money. I'm drowning in debt, and you just get to live here in your perfect house with your perfect life while I have nothing." She was screaming now, loud enough that someone outside must have heard. Because seconds later, there was a knock at the door. Heavy, authoritative. The police. I opened the door. 2 officers stood there, expression serious. "We got a call about a disturbance," one said. I nodded. "Come in." Sienna tried to compose herself, wiping her face, but her hands were still shaking. I handed the officers the folder. "My sister has been living here, rent-free. She's been attempting to manipulate and extort me. I have evidence." They looked through the screenshots, the notebook photos, the footage stills. One officer looked at Sienna. "Is this true?" She opened her mouth, closed it. "I was just trying to survive." "By stealing jewelry? By filing false complaints?" The officer's tone was flat. Sienna started crying. "I didn't steal anything. She gave it to me." I played the baby monitor footage on my laptop. The officers watched in silence. When it ended, one of them turned to Sienna. "Ma'am, you need to understand. If you stay here, you could face charges. Fraud, theft, defamation." Sienna looked at me, desperate. "Mia, please." I felt something crack inside me. Not anger, not satisfaction, just exhaustion. "You need to leave, Sienna." Her face crumpled. "I have nowhere to go." "You should have thought of that before you tried to destroy me." Iona stood and handed her a folded paper. "This is a formal 30-day notice to vacate. If you're not out by then, we'll proceed with legal action." Sienna took the paper with trembling hands. The officers exchanged glances. One of them spoke. "We're not arresting anyone tonight. But, ma'am, I'd suggest you find somewhere else to stay. Soon." After they left, Sienna sat on the couch, staring at the notice. "I really needed help," she whispered. "You could have just asked." My voice was quiet, steady. "Instead, you tried to take everything." She looked up at me, mascara streaking her cheeks. "Would you have given it to me? Honestly." I didn't answer, because I didn't know. And maybe that was the problem. Maybe we were both broken in ways that made it impossible to help each other. Over the next 2 weeks, Sienna packed in silence. She didn't speak to me, didn't look at me, just moved through the house like a ghost. The kids asked where Aunt Sienna was going. I told them she needed her own space. They seemed relieved. On the last day, I found her standing in the kitchen, staring at the fridge. The invoice was still there, faded now, curling at the edges. She reached up and touched it. "This was supposed to be easy money," she muttered. I didn't know she knew I was there. Emma appeared behind me, holding her stuffed rabbit. "Is Auntie leaving?" "Yes, sweetheart." "Good," Emma said quietly. "She wasn't very nice." Sienna turned, saw us, and something in her face shifted. Shame, regret, maybe both. She grabbed her last bag and walked to the door. Before she left, she paused. "I'm sorry, for what it's worth." Then she was gone. The door clicked shut, and the house felt lighter. Weeks passed. The house settled back into rhythm. Breakfast, school drop-offs, bedtime stories, normal things. Things that felt sacred now. One evening, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I'm sorry. I needed help, but I didn't know how to ask." I stared at it for a long time. Part of me wanted to respond, to offer forgiveness, to fix what was broken. But another part, the part that had been folded and hidden and manipulated for months, knew better. I deleted the message. That night, I sat with Emma and my son Leo on the couch. We watched a movie, ate popcorn, laughed at the silly parts. Leo fell asleep against my shoulder. Emma looked up at me. "Mom, are we okay now?" I kissed her forehead. "Yeah, baby, we're okay." And we were, because I'd learned something. Some people teach you boundaries by violating yours, but you decide how the story ends. Not them. You. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, comment, and share.